war in Ukraine has escalated to its most dangerous flashpoint to date, threatening a direct and potentially uncontrollable confrontation between Russia and the NATO alliance. The Russian Ministry of Defense announced in a globally televised press conference that its force had captured a group of 20 active military and intelligence personnel from several NATO member states operating inside Ukrainian territory. To substantiate its explosive claims, Russian state media began broadcasting carefully edited video footage showing a number of captured individuals in military-style fatigues being led away by Russian special force. The Kremlin's statement was shockingly specific, alleging that among the captured were two high-ranking British Army colonels and, most sensationally, a confirmed field agent of the British Secret Intelligence Service, also known as MI6. The announcement has ignited a diplomatic firestorm, validating Moscow's long-held narrative that it is fighting not just Ukraine but a covert war against the entire NATO bloc and placing the alliance in an unprecedented and perilous crisis. The capture reportedly occurred during a surprise Russian armored offensive that overran a fortified underground command bunker deep behind Ukrainian lines in the vicinity of the heavily contested city of Pokrovsk in the Donetsk region. This single event has vaporized the carefully constructed ambiguity surrounding the presence of Western military personnel in Ukraine, moving the conflict from a proxy war to a direct standoff between nuclear-armed powers. Moscow has moved with lightning speed to exploit its intelligence and propaganda victory. The Kremlin spokesperson stated that the captured personnel were not soldiers in a conventional sense, but were terrorists, coordinators, and mercenaries who were directly involved in targeting Russian forces and civilian infrastructure. Russian state television aired interviews with military analysts who claim these captured NATO officers were the mastermind behind Ukraine's recent long-range drone and missile strikes. The video footage released, though grainy and clearly intended to conceal the precise location, showed men being disarmed and their equipment, which included sophisticated communication gear and tactical laptops, being laid out for the camera. The Russian Foreign Ministry announced that it would not treat the captured individuals as prisoners of war under the Geneva Conventions, but as foreign combatants engaged in illegal hostilities on Ukrainian territories, a designation that could pave the way for show trials on charge of espionage and terrorism, which carry severe penalties in Russia. This legal maneuvering is a clear attempt to deny the prisoners their rights and to place maximum psychological pressure on their home government. The Russian government has also stated it has recovered invaluable intelligence from the captured equipment and personnel, including what it claims are operational plans that definitely prove NATO's direct command and control over Ukrainian military units. The news has plunged London into a state of profound crisis. The British government has been thrown onto the defensive, caught between the need to respond to an act of aggression against its senior military officers and the terrifying risk of escalating the situation into a direct war with Russia. The Prime Minister convened an emergency meeting of the Cobra Committee, the government's crisis response body, which ran through the night. The immediate public response from the British Ministry of Defense has been a terse no comment on operational security matters, a standard but unsustainable position given the gravity of the situation. Behind the scene, the British government is working frantically through diplomatic backchannel, demanding that Russia grant immediate consular access to the captured Britons and provide proof of their well-being. The capture of an active MI6 agent is a particularly devastating blow, representing one of the most significant counterintelligence failures for the United Kingdom in decades and raising the horrifying prospect of sensitive intelligence methods and network being compromised. The British government faced an agonizing dilemma. Any military action to try and rescue the prisoners is impossible and would trigger a full-scale war, while negotiating for their release from a position of weakness could involve making humiliating concessions to Moscow. The shockwave from the captured have spread throughout the NATO alliance, as the other captured personnel are reported to be from several other member states, including Poland, France, and Germany. This has created a multifaceted diplomatic crisis, with several capitals now facing their own versions of the British dilemma. In Brussels, an emergency session of the North Atlantic Council has been called. The central debate is how the alliance can and should respond. The incident presents a severe test of NATO's unity and its principle of collective defense. However, the situation is complicated by the fact that the personnel were captured inside Ukraine, which is not a NATO member. This creates a legal and political gray area that Russia is skillfully exploiting. Eastern European members, particularly Poland and the Baltic states, are demanding a robust and unified response, arguing that Russia's action is a direct attack on the security of the alliance and must be met with overwhelming strength to reestablish deterrence. They are pushing for the immediate deployment of additional NATO forces to the eastern flank and a complete economic isolation of Russia. In contrast, some Western European nations are urging caution, fearing that a harsh response could lead to an uncontrollable escalatory spiral. They are advocating for a strategy focused on de-escalation and diplomacy, even if it means entering into difficult negotiations with Moscow. This fundamental disagreement over strategy threatens to fracture the alliance at the very moment when unity is most critical. In Washington, the crisis has landed on the desk of a president who has long been skeptical of deep American involvement in the conflict. The news reportedly infuriated President Donald Trump, who sees the situation as a dangerous mess created by the overextension of European allies, potentially dragging the United States closer to a war he is determined to avoid. An emergency meeting of the National Security Council was convened at the White House, where the president was briefed on the rapidly evolving situation. The administration is navigating treacherous waters. On one hand, there is immense pressure to stand in solidarity with the United Kingdom, America's closest and most important ally. A failure to respond forcefully would be seen as a betrayal and could fatally undermine the credibility of U.S. security guarantees worldwide. On the other hand, any direct American military involvement risks a catastrophic conflict with Russia. The various arms of the U.S. government are scrambling to respond. The State Department, under the leadership of Secretary Marco Rubio, has been tasked with managing the diplomatic firestorm. Secretary Rubio is in constant communication with his British counterpart and the foreign minister of the other affected NATO nations, trying to forge a unified diplomatic response and prevent individual countries from cutting their own separate deals with Moscow. His immediate focus is on de-escalation, using every available back channel to communicate with the Kremlin and demand the safe return of the captured personnel. The Pentagon is on high alert. Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth has placed all U.S. forces in Europe on an elevated state of readiness. His primary concern is the safety of any other American personnel who may be operating in the region and the potential for a miscalculation by either side that could lead to a direct military clash. The defense establishment is analyzing the Russian military operation that led to the capture, which suggests a level of sophistication and intelligence that is deeply alarming. They are also developing a range of military contingency plans for the president, from a show of force in the Baltic or Black Seas to preparations for a much wider conflict. The American intelligence community is working feverishly to verify the Russian claims. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and Central Intelligence Agency Director John Radcliffe are leading a multi-agency effort to independently confirm the identities of the captured individuals and the circumstance of their capture. They are using satellite imagery, signals intelligence, and human sources to piece together what happened at the command bunker near Pokrovsk. The immediate priority is to assess what intelligence may have been compromised. The capture of an MI6 officer and senior military planners raised the nightmare scenario of Russia gaining access to NATO playbooks, communication codes, and intelligence gathering methods. This intelligence assessment will be crucial in shaping the president's response. A key question being debated within the administration is whether this was a lucky break for Russia or the result of a targeted intelligence operation, possibly aided by a mole within Ukrainian or Western intelligence service. The answer to that question has profound implications for the security of the entire Western support effort for Ukraine. The capture of the NATO personnel has completely upended the strategic landscape of the war. It has given Vladimir Putin a powerful propaganda tool to justify the war to his domestic audience and immense leverage over the West. He now holds high-value bargaining chips that he can use to demand a range of concessions, from the lifting of sanctions to a halt in Western arms shipments to Ukraine, or even recognition of Russia's territorial gains. Any attempt at a negotiated peace settlement, such as the informal talks previously explored, is now likely impossible. The price for peace has just gone up dramatically, and it may now include a prisoner exchange of a scale and sensitivity not seen since the Cold War. The world now watch and waits, holding its breath as the leaders in Washington, London, Brussels, and Moscow weigh their next moves. The fate of the 20 captured individuals is a matter of grave concerns, but it is intertwined with a much larger and more dangerous question. Can a direct war between Russia and the West be avoided? The path to de-escalation has narrowed to a razor edge, and the potential for a catastrophic miscalculation has never been higher. The illusion of a contained regional conflict has been shattered, revealing the stark reality of a great power confrontation that has brought the world to the brink. Many of my listeners, like 70%, haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, and so many of you don't even know that you haven't subscribed. That is actually what makes the show going. It's almost like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask again and again, because it enables us to grow and grow and grow. And we're going for the long haul here. And listen, if this is your first time listening to World Global Conflict, you don't have to subscribe. You guys, your first ones on me. But if you have watched this show before, it's like you are a freeloader now. So all I would ask you is, if you have seen this show before and you like it, help me help my team here. Hit that subscribe and like button now. And we will continue to build the show for you. That I swear. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. That's all for me for today. I will see you soon. Bye for now.